Hello YouTube, this is Loyal to Law once again, and if you have noticed that my voice has changed from past videos, it's because I just sneezed a while ago. So I hope that you would bear with me, and I hope that my voice would be clear enough for you to hear, since this video is going to be an instructional video. And while we're at it, this video is going to show you a alternate version of doing a back fist. Now, before I get into that, I'd just like to say that some, or should I say most of the martial artists or self-defense specialists out there would not prefer this kind of technique because of one vital weak point, and it's one of the greatest risks that you would not want to do in doing this kind of back fist. Now, for a normal back fist, as we all know, some of the martial arts disciplines would teach you to do a back fist either from here, from the opposite shoulder, for you to do this motion, doing it in slow motion, or in other disciplines, if you're going to do a back fist, you would want to move your back fist while you're doing a certain motion, like spinning, for example. So if I spin this way, there's your back fist. So from side view, facing here, if I spin here, there's your back fist. Now, this kind of back fist, which is what I prefer most of the time, is simply not doing from the motion on the opposite shoulder going here. So if I do it in fast motion, it's going to be like that. Semi-speed, you see there, my fist clenches right before impact, but my fist stays loose in this position, like so. Now this version of a back fist is different, and it has the same principle on impact, so it tightens up impact, but the way it starts is quite different. So instead of starting from here, you can either start from the center line or even from this side right here. So if you're just going to raise your hand, then just do it this way. As opposed to this. On this kind of back fist, which is more preferable by most martial artists and self-defense specialists, you're focusing more on retracting your fist back and using more of the snap of your elbow and the roll of your shoulders toward the target. See? Whereas this kind of back fist focuses more on the flicking of the wrist. Now, where is the risk in that kind of back fist? Well, the first back fist that I showed you a while ago, which is this one, is much more safer than doing the second one. Mainly because on the first one, it's much safer because, first off, it only focuses on you retracting back and hitting the target. So hitting the target first and then retracting back. Using a bit of your elbow, not the full elbow, because if you're going to use the full elbow, you're going to injure your elbow joint, and that's not good. And it also alleviates the pressure from the elbow because you're using your shoulder, and if you have practiced it enough, you're going to properly do it using the slight hip motion. So instead of just using your upper body and your arm in doing this kind of back fist, you're also using slight hip movement, like so. So there's a little bit of body into it. Whereas the second back fist, which is this, is a little bit riskier, mainly because it doesn't incorporate anything other than your body movement going toward your target and the flick of your wrist, like so. Now, what makes the second back fist riskier than the first back fist, aside from the flicking of the wrist? First off, if you do it incorrectly, so if I do a close-up here, if you do the first back fist, which is, if I move it here, which is this motion, like so, on impact, your fist is still in line with your forearm. So that's good. By the time you made impact with your fist, most preferably with the back part of your knuckles right here, hit it with your knuckles, but most likely your fist will stay in line with your forearm on impact. Whereas the second part, the back fist, when I do it in slow motion, notice the difference, and then impact, that's the time it creates a fist. So do it again in slow motion right here, like so. There's a tendency for you to overbend. So if I show it in this view, your first back fist would be here, so it's in a straight line. Very similar to doing this kind of punch, except that you're doing it from here. The second back fist would be doing this. There's a tendency for you to overextend, which is kind of bad if you didn't train your wrist enough in doing this kind of back fist. Now, why do I show the second version of a back fist instead of just letting you practice the first version? Is fusing the elbow, body weight going toward the target, and retracting it as fast as possible, instead of not showing the second portion, second alternate version where you use the wrist. A lot of reasons actually. First off, if you're really tense, as I fix myself here. If you're really tense, especially in a really very tense situation, there's no time for you to properly do a back fist from this kind of position. Because if you've trained yourself a whole lot of times doing a back fist from here, you'll end up being stiff, and by the time you throw your back fist, it'll not be as soft as you would want it to be and just harden on impact. So you're going to be really slow in executing the back fist, and at times it'll hurt your elbow and the joints included, especially if you're doing a certain movement, very stiff when you should be doing it relaxed. So a back fist is a good example of that. If you do it really rigid and at the same time fast, most likely you're going to injure yourself. Whereas the second kind of back fist, which I showed you earlier using the flicking of the wrist, the positive side of that is when you are in a really tense situation, it reminds you to relax even for a split second. If you relax for a split second and then throw it, even though there's a tendency for you to overextend, so instead of having it in a straight line, you're going to do your wrist like this, in this kind of motion, which if you hit on your opponent's head, it'll not just hit the temple, but if you miss the temple, it'll hit the back of their head. Most likely, you're not going to injure yourself that much, so you're just going to injure your hand. And the good thing, another good thing, of the second back fist, which is the reason why I like it, is you don't actually have to make a fist in order to do a back fist. It automatically helps you, if you're really doubtful in making a fist on impact, it automatically helps you do a slap. So instead of just doing this motion, if you're not sure of making a fist at the end of it, at impact, you can just do a slap right here. See? Like so. In slow motion, so instead of just doing this, you can have the option of doing this. Doing a slap. And if you want to commit to your hit, but would still decide not to make a fist, you would just do a back slap and then fully commit to it in a full turn. So instead of doing this motion, you can just do like so. One more time, instead of doing this, you can do this. Now another advantage of the second back fist from the first back fist is that the first thing that you need to do for the first back fist is to start from the opposite shoulder, oftentimes. So in order to get the full power and the full benefit of the first back fist, you should start from a winding motion. So you have to start a wind up, or you should start from the opposite shoulder. On the second back fist, the alternate version, you can just start from at the center line. So if you feel like in a self-defense situation, if there's a space, let's say on this side, you're shaking the hand of the other guy in front of you, so you're using your left hand, or your right hand, if you're a right-hander. And say an assailant comes from your side, from this side, from the right side. Since you're a right-hander, you're going to shake with your right hand, with the other person here. But the distance is far too short for you to do an elbow. But if you do a kick, it's going to be a little bit more telegraphic than just say doing a certain motion from just standing up right here, shaking hands with another person in front of you. So from an assailant coming towards you from the right side, if you're a right-hander shaking with your right hand, instead of doing a kick, instead of doing an elbow, you can immediately do a back fist right here. See? Like so. Or, again, if you're not confident in making a fist, you can just do a slap. Then evade from there. And another thing that's good with the second back fist from the first back fist is that aside from making you or reminding you to not feel really tense in doing the back fist distance-wise, it helps you practice your wrist motions, especially if you're practicing weapons. So for those of you who are practicing Filipino martial arts or any type of stick arts in that matter, Krabi Krabong for Thailanders, or for those who are practicing Muay Thai, kickboxing, it practices your wrist motion, and it also helps you practice the flicks in doing the sticks. So for those of you who would want to also practice combos using one hand, especially if you're really fond of using one hand techniques in doing combos, and then in order to strengthen your arm, for example, say you're weak in using your right hand, so you would want to practice it on the lead instead of just practicing it, from the back, from this position, practicing it in the lead, and then just practice it with a flick of the wrist, like so. Now, another good advantage for using the second or the alternate version of this kind of back fist, which is using the flicking of the wrist, is that you really don't have to do the full back fist. You can just do, so instead of just doing this full impact back fist of the alternate version, you can just do half closed. So it's going to be like this. You know that you've done it properly if you're hearing a snap when you semi-close your hands using all of your 4 fingers. See? If you're doing it fast enough. Okay. Now that I've shown you the pros and the cons of using the second alternate version of the back fist, the question that would easily come to mind is, how do you practice it? So for the first back fist, you would practice it from this position, or do a wind-up motion, which most of you may have already practiced when you heard about doing a back fist. The steps that you would need to do in doing the alternate back fist is to first do it in slow motion. So we're going to do a Tai Chi motion in doing this technique. So just stand up as normal, relaxed, and then just start from here. So like a normal back fist, the first one, you would start, put your hand on the opposite shoulder. So if you're using the left, you're going to place it on your right shoulder here, and then just move your arm, really, really slow and really, really relaxed. And then, instead of just doing this, you're going to make your hand relaxed instead of making a loose fist. So it's going to be open. And then, by the time you see that your hand is about to be in line with your shoulder, in this case my left shoulder, that's the time you're going to clench your fist at the end. So it's really, really different from the first portion of the first back fist, where you start here as a loose fist, and then do it here, like so. Second back fist, the alternate version, is you place your hand right here on the shoulder, open hand, move your elbow, have your hand relaxed and open still, and by the time you see that your hand or your wrist is about to be in line with your left elbow, in this case, that's the time you're going to make your fist. So if I do it in this view, here you see, first back fist is going to be like so. Second version will be this. See how I made my fist by the time I saw that it's going to be excuse me, in line with my shoulder? Like so. Now to practice the reverse part, which is bring it back. So instead of just doing that, bring it back. So from here, you're going to have your hand in a loose fist this time, and then bring it back, opening your hand, placing it on the shoulder, on the opposite shoulder where it came from. So from here, like so. So you're going to do the same with your right, except that the analogy that I would like to use here is that you do a back fist after you sing your national anthem, and then you pull your fist back to sing your national anthem. So I hope that makes it easier to practice a back fist, the second version. So this is most likely my last video for this year, 2012. So if you're watching it in several years after 2012, so this video is made in 2012. So to everyone who's watching this video and for everyone all over the world, I hope that you have a blessed and joyous New Year, and I hope that everything that you've planned out for 2013 will be, first off, in good intentions, and second, that if it follows good intentions, I pray and hope that it'll be carried out and that it'll bring you more blessings as you give more blessings to others. Thank you so much, and I pray that and hope that this video has helped you even in the smallest way possible. Remember that this alternate back fist is not superior to the first. It's just giving you another option to do a certain technique so that you won't be tight, or you won't be excluded, or should I say within the box, so that you'll just be outside the box whenever the situation calls for it. So thank you so much again. Happy New Year to all. God bless you all. Always stay safe and take care.